Hello, my lovelies! Welcome back to the Geek Suite. I'm your host, the one and only Kid Nerd Bean, and today we're going to be talking about the wizarding world of Harry Potter. But before we get into the wizarding world, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and hit that like, subscribe button, and ring the notification bell, because the YouTube algorithm loves it when you do that, and so do I. It only takes a second, just click it. We put out videos about once a week here on the Geek Suite, so definitely be sure to ring that bell so you don't miss out. Okie dokie, my lovelies. Today's video is going to be a little bit of a deeper dive into my Dobby Angry Nerd rant, which I will link somewhere abouts, where we get into the history of house elves, Hogwarts, and the wizarding world, and how wrong it truly is. Now, first let's look into some of this surface level information that we get about house elves from the books. So, Dobby explains to Harry in Chamber of Secrets that every house elf serves a wizarding family, and that nasty pillowcase that's covered in snot and grime and whatever that he wears is the mark of the house elves' enslavement. And he also mentions to Harry that he can only be freed if he's presented with clothes. And now, this important information is taken from Scottish lore, which makes sense since Hogwarts takes place in Scotland. It's where J.K. Rowling wrote all of the books. I know this because I happened to walk past a bar that proclaimed as such when I was in Edinburgh. Now, the Scottish folklore fairy tale about this speaks of a creature called a brownie. And in folklore, brownies are said to inhabit houses, especially in the unused corners of the kitchen and the home. And they help around with tasks around the house. And in these times in Scotland, every manor house had one, and in the kitchen, next to the fire, there was a seat which was reserved for the brownie. And it was left unoccupied for them. One house on the banks of the River Tay in Scotland was believed to have had a creature, a brownie, inhabiting its house up until the early 20th century. And one room in this house for centuries was reserved as the, and I apologize to all my Scottish ancestors and lovely viewers for most likely butchering this, but there was one room in the house that was for centuries called the Chamar Brunet, or Brownie's Room. However, brownies do not like to be seen and will only work at night, traditionally in exchange for small gifts of food. Brownies seldom speak to humans, but they do frequently converse with one another, and brownies were even said to be seen holding meetings on rocky shores. They can turn invisible, but rarely need to do so because they are experts at sneaking and hiding. Now, there are some traditional things regarding the brownie lore that have to do with their appearance, and these are that brownies are typically always male, but there are some female brownies do occasionally appear within the folklore. They are usually described as ugly, perhaps even unsettling to members of the house. And they are known and named for their brown skin. Insert long history of racism and servitude here. They are often characterized as short, round, wrinkled with a lot of curly brown hair. Again, insert racist stereotype rant here. And they are usually said to be naked or to only be wearing rags, though some have a brown mantle and hood or white tunics. And we see these characterizations in Dobby, that he's got this olivish tone to his skin, would be naked but for his pillowcase outfit. But yeah, I didn't really think about it much taking this from the Scottish lore sides, but now that I read it, the more problematic having these brown, nearly naked people with curly hair serving in your house for nothing but a bit of food sounds. And I would like to say that J.K. Rowling was trying to be more profound than she was with this, with the whole house elves and the way the wizards treat their enslavement, but given her behavior these last few years, I'm going to go ahead and not give her the benefit of the doubt. When it comes to food, brownies are traditionally known for liking porridge with honey. So I'm pretty sure that they would love, love, love every American cereal in existence. And brownies will usually abandon their house if their gifts are called payments, or if the owners mistreat or misuse them. And now, when it comes to clothing, the traditional brownie lore states that if a family gives a gift of clothing to a brownie, they will leave the house forever and refuse to work for the family. It's unclear in the stories if this is due to taking offense, such as the story of the brownie who was used to wearing linen and then was given a sackcloth shirt, or if they are instead grateful for the gift. It is possible that with new clothing they think themselves as too grand for work, again insert problematic leeway here. A motif attested to in other folk tales, or that the gift of clothing may be seen as a means of freeing them from a curse of servitude. And I think this last one is where Rowling picked and chose her bits for the house elves and Dobby in the story. And the name Dobby is going to come up again very shortly because, as anyone who's read these series knows, J.K. Rowling likes to play with names. So brownies are also referred to as hobgoblins, and they are also referred to as Dobbies in Lancaster and Yorkshire, and I think this has to do with the name for them in Scottish, which I found and then lost and then found again and then can't pronounce, but basically it sounds like the word Dobby. So the people living in these regions of England who maybe didn't speak the Scottish Gaelic heard them referring to these things as Dobbies, or what they heard to be Dobbies, and started calling them that themselves. And so obviously this is where the author J.K. Rowling got the idea for the house elves and Dobby came from, but it's very clear that she didn't stick to every aspect of the traditional lore when creating the house elves, and just sort of pick and chose things that stuck out to her, or maybe didn't just fully do all of her research. And this creates a bit of a problem when going into the deeper world building of Harry Potter and the way that the wizards and different characters view house elves and house elf enslavement. And it is considered enslavement because Dobby outright says that's what it is. Now, while J.K. Rowling's representation isn't exactly accurate to the traditional Celtic lore of Dobbies or brownies or hobgoblins, it's not the only representation that we see in media, and there is actually a very popular Canadian television show called Lost Girl that has an episode featuring a brownie, and I will show a little clip of it here.
Look, Beau deserves una casa that has that fresh from the dentist feeling. But I am not genetically programmed for housework. And she doesn't earn enough moolah to get me the squadron of maids I deserve.
Well, if you want some spending money, I'll hire you on for some shifts.
Work for a living? Do I look like a chump?
Do I?
If I say yes, do I still get that beer?
Hi there. Couldn't help but overhear. I'm Mumford.
I got a shot for that in kindergarten. Keep walking, pal.
I'm a brownie. I clean houses.
Before you devour the inhabitants?
Try to stay out of the way. Mostly I work at night. So quiet, you won't even know I'm there. And I do it for free.
Comfy. Have a seat. Brownies. Perfectly harmless, or lock up your honeys.
They eat honey, not honeys. In fact, they like it in their porridge.
What else do they like in their porridge, huh? Nuggets of girl brain?
No.
A drizzle of virgin blood?
No.
Eyeball dumplings?
All they eat is cereal and honey.
Okay, so what you're saying is he is trick certified, safe to take home?
Absolutely. Just don't take them for granted.
Sweet-tacular. You're hired, kid. Ooh. Do you come with your own mop? Ours kind of got brutalized in a cheese fondue incident. Not pretty.
So we've seen a good representation of brownies, and we've seen the differences in the traditional Celtic lore as opposed to how J.K. Rowling presents them, and now we're going to get into these big differences between the traditional Celtic lore and Rowling's representation and how it's problematic and gives the Harry Potter universe a downright dark side the more you think about it, and was actually one of the reasons that they cut a lot of Dobby's plot and a lot of the House Elf world and lore and world building that went into that part of the show was cut out from the movies because it was deemed to be just too dark and too complex to put in a movie series aimed at children. And the biggest difference right off the bat is that traditionally Dobbies or brownies would leave if they were insulted or mistreated by the families that they were helping. And the more that they call it that, the more that I feel that the Celtic people had to call it that because of the way that they'd set up the lore. It's really disturbing. However, it appears to be that mistreating a Dobby is just business as usual in the Harry Potter realm. It's frowned upon, but nobody really does anything about it. And we'll get into the more darker side of house elf life in about book 4. So, in book 4, Goblet of Fire, Harry meets his second house elf, and this is Winky. Winky serves Barty Crouch, who is the current... He's not the current Minister of Magic. He works for the Ministry of Magic and is very highly ranked. And when we meet Winky, we learn a little bit more, and Harry learns a little bit more, about house elves and what their life is like. And this is where the darkness starts to bubble up. Winky is publicly freed at the World Quidditch Cup match by Barty Crouch Sr. after she loses Barty Crouch Jr. Now, that isn't why he says he frees her. He comes up with some other excuse, but this is meant to be a public humiliation for Winky, because to the house elves, being freed is very shameful. And it works. So much so that when we see Winky again, we see that she's developed a drinking problem. She becomes addicted to butterbeer, and Dobby has her hidden in the room of requirement at Hogwarts and is sort of taking care of her because she's his girlfriend. After she was freed, Dobby got her a job at Hogwarts, but because she became an alcoholic, she couldn't do any of her chores, so Dobby just started doing them for her. And because she had just completely given up on living, which was how big of an effect this act of releasing from the servitude of a wizarding family has on the house elves. And it's not outright said, but there does appear to be some sort of magical element to it, not just house elf hegemony. It's not just a societal shunning, there's some sort of deeply rooted magical element to this that makes them not want to be freed, which is super, super disturbing. And in this case, and Dobby says as much when he's talking to Harry about how he got his job at Hogwarts and what life in between being freed from the Malfoys and starting there was like, how he talks about how he was, made out to be a pariah amongst the other house elves in the community, and that they were trying to shame him for it, but he actually enjoyed being free, so Dobby's sort of like the lone woke elf. That sounds like it would be a really weird movie about a coming-of-age story in the Pacific Northwest. If anybody has any plot ideas for that, wants to send me a script, let me know. And as I mentioned, when we, the readers, learn more about this weird magical hegemony element that keeps the house elves wanting to be enslaved, when we learn about this lore in the wizarding world, it sort of leads us to think that maybe these changes were made in the break from traditional Dobby Brownie lore, that these changes were made to the way that we see them now by the wizards. Of course, this happens now that I'm taking my conspiracy to YouTube, but I did find something that has since been lost to time that states that there is some sort of enchantment placed on the house elves from thousands of years ago when they lost some sort of great war to the wizards, and it's why they can't use wands, and somehow this enslavement enchantment was put onto it. And I can't tell if it was something deep lore that I had read on Pottermore or in one of the Pottercasts, or if it was just straight up fan fiction, but everybody in the realm, even though I can't find this original source, seems to agree that there is a magical element to the house elf enslavement that benefits the wizards, that was maybe put there by the wizards, but whatever the curse or enchantment was has been lost, so nobody can undo it. Helga Hufflepuff brings as many house elves as she can to Hogwarts because she thinks that's the best way that she can give them a good quality of life without ruining their lives by freeing them, because they like it. They like being slaves. What the hell is wrong with people? And, like I said, for some reason, lone woke elf Dobby was able to break free of this enchantment, and which is why he is happy to be free. And I think part of it might be having friends outside of the house elf community, which is why he doesn't mind this social ostracization, because he's bestest good friends with Harry Potter, the greatest wizard of all time. And I guess maybe that just means he don't give a fuck. Either way, Dobby is an anomaly as the lone woke elf who never wanted to be a slave, no matter how well or how poorly he was treated. Now, that being said, it's unclear whether J.K. Rowling did this on purpose or whether she was just really, really bad at portraying how Dobbies like helping the families in the homes that they reside in, unless her intent was to show how bad white people are at explaining or understanding systemic racism and slavery as an institution. And had I made this 10 years ago, I probably would have thought that she was being tongue-in-cheek about this and cleverly slipping it into children's and young adult literature. But, like I said, given her more recent behavior, I don't think she thought this far ahead, guys. I just don't. However, this video isn't about trashing J.K. Rowling. She's doing a fine job of that on her own. It's just something that I, as a big Dobby fan, needed to share with y'all. So yeah, I think that's all I've got as far as the weird dark side of house elf enslavement / the wizards are keeping them enslaved / Dobby's the lone woke elf that I got. So whether the wizards fought and won a battle with them and enforced the slavery upon them, or whether it's just hella strong hegemony that's got some sort of magical boost that's keeping them where they're at. Either way, everyone in Harry Potter who's a wizard is a racist dick. #wizards are dicks. Or are they? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And again, if you liked today's video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell. We try to keep geeky content coming out every week or thereabouts, so be sure to do that so you don't miss out on anything. And if you want more Geek Suite material, be sure to check out my Patreon page. Patrons are who make this channel possible. Every donation keeps more content like this coming and the lights on in the Geek Suite. And I use a lot of lights, so yeah, gotta keep that production quality high. Patrons, depending on which tier you sign up for, get things like early access to videos, insider-only content, the chance to vote in polls for my upcoming content, uncensored videos, and at the higher echelons you get access to the Discord server for the Geek Suite. For more information on that, I'll have a link here and a clickable version in the description section down below. Alrighty, my lovelies, that's all the time I've got for today. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time. Hello, my lovelies. Welcome back to the Geek Suite. I'm your host, the one and only Kid Nerd Bean, and we're back for another episode. Nope, that's not it at all. Hello, my lovelies. Welcome back to the Geek Suite. I'm your host, the one and only Kid Nerd Bean, and today we're going to be talking about the wizarding world of Harry Potter. I can't play the actual music. This is how I get away with getting these monetized eventually. Sorry. I didn't prepare you for that. I'm sorry, honey.
You did it. It's okay. It's okay.
Okay. And I think part of it might be having friends outside of the house elf community, because he doesn't care about this social ostracism. Fuck me with a cactus.
Turn this off.
Okay.